My name is Rob Owen. I was one of Brandon's lawyers for about 20 years, and I appreciate the opportunity to say a couple of words about what he meant to us on the defense team. The first thing I want to remember about Brandon is what a kind person he was. Brandon was never bitter or angry about his situation. I've known many people in prison who were consumed with anger about the fix they were in. That was never Brandon's attitude at all. He was exactly the opposite. He was always concerned about treating other people the way that he hoped to be treated in return, with respect and kindness. Another thing about Brandon that I'll remember is how generous he was. Brandon was never worried about what you could do for him. He was always more concerned about what he could do for you. When my sister died in 2008, Brandon sent me the most touching sympathy card that I received. He was always concerned about the feelings of others and never about his own situation. The third thing I'll remember about Brandon is how devoted he was to his family. They were, quite simply, the most important part of his life. He loved his mother, he loved his brother Max, his sister Kiana, and his daughters Tanea and Kiara more than anything in the world. And their love and support for him made it possible for him to not just survive in the terrible environment in which he found himself, but to actually thrive and to become a better and happier person every day with their affection and support. Those of us who were privileged to know and work with Brandon will never forget him. And although we are in great pain today, we take comfort from the teaching of the Psalms that the Lord healeth the broken in heart and bindeth up their wounds. Thank you and take care.
I was so impressed by how Brandon was able, despite 20 years in solitary, to grow into a smart, caring, and wise person. I know he loved his family very much. He expressed how truly proud he was of his daughters. And he handled this potential end with remarkable grace, not consumed by the anger that I at least was feeling. Obviously, he was helped in this by his strong faith. He took comfort in the fact that if he had to go, his passing might contribute to restoring some humanity to our judicial system. I've described him to some of my friends as having become, to use the Jewish word, a real mensch, which I've seen translated as a fine human being. And he truly was. Amid your grief at losing him, you can be really proud of the person Brandon had become.
Hi, I'm John Carpenter. I'm one of Brandon's attorneys, and I was his attorney for about 10 years. I guess there's a little less, like 8. I'll round up because it felt more important. Brandon was just such a great guy. I'm really sorry for all of us. One of the last things that I told Brandon was that I wish that I could carry myself with as much grace and kindness as he always did. He was really just a wonderful guy, and I'm so glad that I got to know him, and I'm so sorry that he's no longer with us physically, but I know that he touched a lot of people that, most of us on this call or this ceremony and celebration of his life won't be here, but he has. He's done a lot of good in this world, and I'm again so very sorry.
I am grateful for the opportunity to talk with you all about Brandon, but I'm even more grateful simply for the opportunity to have known Brandon, to work with him and for him, and more importantly, to be his friend. I knew Brandon for 8 years, and I knew when I met him that he was something fierce and wonderful. Brandon was one of the most genuine and kind humans I have ever interacted with. He was truly selfless, wanting nothing but giving so much. He was a prolific letter writer, and I truly loved receiving those 8-page double-sided letters from him. During one of my first visits with Brandon, he talked about how he couldn't ever just be resigned and stagnant because of his circumstances or where he lived. He wanted to still live life to the fullest, even though the fullest for him was different. I was always moved by that and thought, this is why Brandon has such a positive outlook on life. He never let his situation get him down, and he always chose to look to the positive in every situation. Sure, things would bother him, but he never dwelled on that. He fought his case for over 21 years, truly never really getting his day in court, and he wasn't deterred by that, and either were we. Brandon was always coming up with great arguments for our filings and took every little knockdown as an opportunity for another chance. Everyone who knew Brandon loved Brandon. It sounds cliche, but for Brandon, it was real. He had friends all over the country, and they were real friends. He loved his family dearly, and most of the things he did to better himself was for them, and of course, his 2 daughters. He would always be so excited and happy when he received an update about them, or when they were teenagers and got to meet for the first time. When he talked about that, his smile spread off his face. It was so big. Brandon's faith kept him focused and grounded. He spent 21 years letting people know that he was not the same person he was when he was a young and insecure 18-year-old boy. He was so happy and proud that near the end of his life, the world finally got to see and know the real Brandon, the Brandon his family and friends always knew him to be. He was loving, supportive, mature, introspective, giving, selfless, and caring. Even with all the injustices he experienced, he was always able to find peace in his situation. He went into his final days making sure his kids, sister, mom, and brother would be okay. Brandon leaves a hole in the heart of many, and that includes me. He was one of my favorite people. I truly loved working with him and for him and being his friend. Because of him, I was able to meet the most amazing people and interact with individuals who wanted to help Brandon, and that was a great feeling. It's been a really hard week. I know Brandon knows that we fought and fought and fought for him. I think of him often, and that will never change. I hope his family knows how much he loved them and cared about them and wants them to be well. Brandon's positive legacy will live on in all of our hearts. Thank you.
It is such a privilege for me to be with you gathered together today to remember Brandon. It was a real joy in my life that I could be brought in to know him just a little bit. And the Brandon I got to know, because he's transparent. I never met a human being more poised who was likely to meet his death than I did in Brandon. He was sleeping at night. I mean, that's an incredible piece of soul and poise, that even when the state or the government's about to kill you, that you can go to sleep. He was so attentive to his lawyers, the investigators, his whole team. He was so grateful. He was a transformed man. And it is a loss to all of us that we lost him, but he gave us something precious, which I'll carry with me forever. And that was his lesson about life and loving. And as he liked to say, like my mama taught me, to always treat other people the way you wanted to be treated yourself. And that is the way he lived. I am really privileged to have known him, even for a little while.